What's up? I wanted to talk about the time of the rapture. I believe that right before the tribulation is going to be the time of the rapture. And so I think we're going to pretty much be here all the way up until the time of, I think I said the rapture, but I meant the tribulation. All the way up until the time of the tribulation, I think we are going to be here, or whoever is going to be around and alive at that moment is going to be here up until the time of the tribulation. And so I think this is why, it's good to prepare for the day of death as well as prepare for the rapture, because we don't know exactly when the time of the tribulation is going to happen. And so I don't think God is going to rapture us, 100 years before the time of the tribulation. And so that's why I think, people who have been waiting on the rapture, have passed away, or sometimes people just give up hope in the rapture, is because, I think it happens right before the time of the tribulation, because that is what really makes sense. It doesn't necessarily make sense to just rapture someone, for no apparent reason. And I think also Jesus said specifically that, it will be like the days of Noah, all the way up until Noah entered the ark. Then the flood came and destroyed everyone. And so it wasn't until Noah entered the ark and then the flood came. And so for us, I think it's going to be all the way up until the time that God is ready to pour out his wrath during the tribulation. I think all the way up until either that day or that night, it could be even as simple as the day before the tribulation is set to start and really kick off. That is when the rapture is going to happen. Now, I do believe that, verses like Isaiah 26:20 give us some indication that, we should, in days prep, store up a little bit of food, a little bit of water. It says for a little while that we are supposed to be in our houses. And so I do believe that, we should do a little bit of prepping. Now, if you have the means, I think that it's a smart thing to do to store up supplies for all of the 7 years. That's just, I think, a practical thing to do. I don't necessarily have the means to do that right now. I've done what I can, but, I think we should prepare in a physical way too. And I think it just also gives you something to do. I think it's just a smarter thing to do. You can find supplies on Amazon for storing water and storing food. They have food containers that you can buy for you and your family. You can prep on your own. I know that some people speak against, the pre-made buckets that you can buy that last 20-25 years. But, if you are not going to take out the time and effort to, dehydrate food and, put food in a bottling process, I think that it's okay to just go ahead and purchase the pre-made dehydrated food buckets that you can get from different companies right on Amazon. They'll deliver it right to your door. And so, I don't know. I believe that there's a pre-trib rapture, and so I think any time that we're going to spend, kind of like COVID, where you can't go out into society, I think that's going to be a shorter time, according to Isaiah 26:20. It may not necessarily be a whole long period of time that we're in our houses before the rapture happens, but I think we should prepare. And so, I think that, again, the rapture to me is going to be probably a day before the tribulation is set to start, but I don't know. Some indications that the tribulation is starting, I believe, is, more and more robotics out in the world. I think when all these companies starts replacing people with their robots, and the robots can do any job, and when we no longer can work because our job got replaced, I think is an indication of the tribulation starting. I think that, it could be another 20 years. It could be another 30 years. I do think it is a good chance, that it is in our lifetime for sure. For those of us that are, alive right now, I think definitely if you're older, I'll just be candid and say, definitely, think about preparing for death rather than the rapture, but I think you should obviously keep hoping in the rapture to be, in your lifetime. I know if I get to 70 or 80, I'm not going to just, I'm just going to go in the rapture and, just kind of not have a reality check of being on the deathbed. But I think it's always good to have hope, and so don't let me take that away from you. But also, some other signs that the tribulation is happening, I believe, is just more and more unraveling of the world, more and more lawlessness happening. We have to watch what's going on in Israel as far as the temple being built or, a two-state solution, so to speak. I think definitely when people are saying peace and safety, so there's some sort of calm that happens before the storm. I think that is an indication that the tribulation is going to happen too, is just when we see unusual type of calmness in the world, where, maybe there isn't a whole bunch of earthquakes or different things like that. I don't know. The signs of the times indicate also just a birth pain where it's like, things are happening as indication that, something big is coming, in the future. And so I think definitely more and more breakdown of the world is going to happen. But I do believe the rapture is before World War, as far as Revelation chapter 6 is concerned. Now, I think if there is a world war that breaks out, I don't know if it's the same world war that is going to be in the tribulation. And so that's one thing I think we can note is that, because there's been a World War I and World War II, and we know those aren't a part of the tribulation, as far as we know, I think that it gives indication that even if there is a world war, we don't know if it's necessarily the same world war that's described in the book of Revelation. But, because of what we don't know, I think it's always good to try to be prepared as best as we can. I think it's always good to try to, walk a righteous life, repent of sin, always making sure that you're ready for the rapture. I think that, we do believe that all Christians, go up in the rapture. A lot of us do. And so, we do believe that, but I think you should prepare just in case God is selective of who goes in the rapture, and so we should prepare that way too. So again, I think that we're getting closer and closer to that time of the tribulation. I think we can't just deny many of the things that we have seen the world go through and not associate it with the signs of the time, not associate it with the time of the tribulation. I think it's foolish to think that these aren't signs of the times. Again, we don't know the day or the hour, so we don't know when exactly it's going to be, or these signs of the time indicate that it's this year or next year or something. I don't think we can figure that out, as much as we think about it or something. But, I know that the world is just unraveling more and more each day. But, there's also parts of the world that are just continuing on as normal. And so, I think that many times we do face some challenges that are a normal part of the signs of the times, but also we have this hope within us that we're getting closer and closer to being with God, seeing Jesus, living in peace and safety as far as heaven is concerned, being away from sin, being away from all the wrong that happens here on this earth, or just things not going right. One of the things that I wanted to kind of do its own episode on is how things just don't seem to go right here. It's not necessarily always just evil and sin problem, but it's like sometimes just the process of stuff doesn't work right here, like applying for a house, or making enough money to feed your family, or just different things that go wrong here. And I love how heaven is not going to have any of that, where you can't apply for a house or build a house where you want it, or make enough money to feed yourself and have enough left over. All these inequalities. I love how heaven is without that. And so there's a lot of things to be excited for. But again, as far as the timing of the rapture, I think it is going to be right before the tribulation is set to happen. And so if we don't have, the mark of the beast system in place, I don't know if it's fully the time of the tribulation or the rapture. If we don't have some of the things that we know is going to take place during the tribulation, we need to see those things develop. Now, I think those things are developing, but I think some of them do take some time to really get to the place where you see some of the stuff happening during the tribulation. Now, I think especially once people don't have a job because a robot is doing their job, I think that is how people also take the mark of the beast, is from, not having a job. And so, they have to take the mark of the beast to get the food allotment from the government, Now, there's supposed to be a one world government. And so, we have to see that develop more. But, we have to consider that we can be wrong about the timing sometimes. And so it's always good to just be ready, right now, and so, thanks so much for checking this out. Hopefully this was helpful to someone. We have to fight the good fight of faith, enter into the rest of God, continue to do good works, continue to, live for Jesus, and not get our eyes off of Jesus onto different things. And so thanks so much, and I will talk to you on the next one. See ya.